Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
A mother-daughter duo is making history as they graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy.
Yeah, Elise Lindsay followed in the footsteps of her mother, retired Captain Timika Lindsay, and together they will go down in history as the first African-American duo to graduate from the United States Naval Academy in 177 years. Mom, Captain Timika Lindsay, who served in the Navy for like 30 years, was one of the highest ranking African-American female captains before she retired. That was back in 2021.
Yeah, and Elise said that seeing life as a midshipman, living on the yard, and attending events all influenced her decision to follow in her mother's footsteps.
How proud is that family? Probably of one another, probably daughter proud of the mom. And now, the daughter has flipped and made this a career as well and graduated from the Naval Academy, which I'm sure is pretty rare.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast. Do we have a treat for you today? I am so privileged and honored to really have a great leader from the U.S. Navy talking to us in just a moment. But as you know, we always start our show with what we call the moment of gratitude. And today, I am really grateful for two things. One, for freedom, right? 10 days ago, it was Juneteenth, and July the 4th is right around the corner. And I'm also grateful for public service. Just men and women like the one we're going to be talking to today who are willing to really spend their entire life serving the public. That really takes a lot of courage, and it is a great thing we should all emulate. And I'm so grateful for that. So before we get started, before I bring her on board, let me see if I can bring her to introduce her to you guys really quickly. So today I am really honored to welcome an extraordinary leader whose career exemplifies servant leadership, operational excellence, and a lifelong commitment to developing other people. Okay. She's the founder and CEO of Anchor Leadership Solution, founder and board member at Pegasus Rising, executive leadership consultant, enterprise technology and workforce transformation, and retired U.S. Navy captain. Wow, I wonder where she even has time to sleep sometimes. More than 30 years of distinguished service in the U.S. Navy, Captain Lindsay continues her mission of service by helping organizations strengthen leadership culture, communication, and organizational performance, from leading global communication and technology operation to advising the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy on leadership and organizational culture. Her career demonstrates what it means to lead with both competence and character. Today, she's the founder and CEO of Anchor Leadership Solution and founder of Pegasus Rising. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about that nonprofit. She's empowering leaders, transforming organizations, and investing in communities through purpose-driven leadership. Just last year, she was able to feed more than 1,600 people during Thanksgiving. It's just amazing the work she does in and out of uniform. And during our conversation today, we will explore how leaders can remain anchored in their value while navigating change, complexity, and uncertainty. Part of what you're going to be learning today is leadership lesson for more than 3 decades of naval service, but also why your greatest legacy will always be the leaders you develop. So, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast, the one and only Captain Timi Lindsay.
Good morning. Good
Good morning,
morning. How are
Captain.
you?
Great. Such a great honor to be talking to you today, ma'am.
Thank
Maybe
you.
to get started, what is something you are grateful for today?
I'm grateful, for another week. Although it's going to be a hot one, I'm okay with it. I am grateful right now at this moment for my dad. My dad is in poor health
Yes.
right now, so I'm actually at his house helping him out. But I tell you, without him and my mother, she passed away 17 years ago. But
Sorry to
without the
hear that.
two of them, I would not have made it to 30 plus years in the Navy. Their
Wow.
support for me all the way. When my husband and I were both deployed to the Middle East
Mm,
in the early 2000s, I mean, they have been my coach,
yes.
my cheerleader, my supporter, my mentor, my
Mm,
confidant, everything. So I'm just glad to see him up today. He's sitting
yes.
down, sitting in the room behind me here, and I'm keeping an
Wow.
active ear open for him, making sure that he's okay.
Yeah, we wish him well. It's
Thank
really
you.
incredible how when one person serves, in the military, it's really the entire family that is serving,
Yes,
especially during times of deployment. You really need that support. So grateful for that.
yes.
Is there something about you, Captain, that most people may not know when they first meet you?
Woo. I think it's my love for sports and
Mm,
teams. So I'm the American football, the NFL type
yeah.
of sports person. I grew up here in South Jersey. We are Eagles
Wow.
territory, but I'll
Yes,
be
we
honest
did.
with you, they're my number two team. My number one team is the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Really?
and we
Wow.
used, yeah, Franco Harris was from South Jersey, so we loved him. But
Yes.
coming home as a kid growing up, my mom would get the food started and we go to church and then we come home and we would eat around the
Wow.
television watching football. So, we love
That's right.
football. We do love, playoffs of every sport,
Yes.
basketball, baseball, even, ice hockey. And now we're watching the FIFA Cup, just
Yeah.
enjoying that. So it is definitely a family event. We can definitely circle around talking about
Nice.
sports all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how do you feel about true footballs, what you guys call soccer in America? But
So it's a little long for me. I think 100 minutes is a little long,
yeah,
but um, I do enjoy seeing them. I don't know, I of course I know Messi.
hmm,
I really can't wait to watch him in action. And I
yes,
am watching the dynamics of our American team. Just seeing how they come in and play. So
yeah, it's
it was
pretty
hard
amazing.
seeing them lose the other night. I'll tell you that much. That was a horrible kick at the end, but.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
but it's pretty amazing to see because the U.S. Soccer team is relatively new. We kind of still babies, but we play
Yeah.
really, really good now.
Yes.
It's improved quite a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
So, Captain Timmy Lindsay, who are you beyond the uniform, titles, and all of the great accomplishment?
So I consider myself a servant leader. I know that's typically assigned in the male roles in the church, but I am a God fearing Christian woman. I believe in values of
Yes.
ethics and morals and truth and integrity. I believe in service. I've taken that Discover Your Strengths quiz some time ago, and
Mhm.
the word was administration, and I'm like, what does that
Wow.
mean? And they were like, you like to serve. And so my
Yes.
dad jokes around, and he says that I'm not really retired because I'm still doing a lot of work, but I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm just not in uniform as much, but I still serve.
Yeah, I was just saying in your introduction, do you even have time to sleep? My goodness, you are the
Yes.
CEO of Anchor Leadership Solution,
Yeah.
founder
Yeah.
of Pegasus Rising.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just working, working, working,
Yep.
working, making a difference in the world. And I believe you're also working on your PhD, aren't you, ma'am?
Yes, I just finished my first year of PhD work in business psychology. So
Where
it
do you find the time? My goodness. Wow.
So this was I give it all, to my mentor, Captain Mary McAdams, U.S. Navy
That's
retired. And
amazing.
she started dropping a seed in me probably around 2019, 2020.
Yeah,
And at that time, my daughter was at the Naval Academy, and my son was in the process of applying. And she was like, "So
incredible.
what are you going to do with that GI Bill?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know." And she's, "You need to go back to school."
Wow, that's
So
really
I
impressive.
decided to do some research, and I just thought that this was a time last year was a time for me to start really researching that. And I really
Yes.
had a liking for industrial organizational psychology. And I
Wow,
also liked organization leadership. So I found out that business
amazing.
psychology just kind of covers both of them. So that's what I signed up
That's
for.
amazing. Amazing. You are definitely a great role model for your family, your son and your daughter, especially. And
Thank
of
you.
course, I'm speaking to an historic figure, right? The first
Yes.
mother and daughter graduate from the Naval Academy. That's just amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. We
What
didn't
a
know that that was the case until, like, literally, I think until it was close to that her signing up. And I'm
wow.
like, "Oh, wow." Because, at
That's
first she wasn't even thinking about the Naval Academy, but I think it was our time in Japan when I
yes.
was the 7th Fleet N6, her seeing fleet actions, her talking to other,
Wow.
children and stuff in high school, her being abroad, and she was actually a leader
Yes.
within a teen center.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, "Hey." And then I came to the Naval Academy and living on the yard. And she goes, "I think I like this place." And I had already done the
Wow.
college road trip with her. And
That's amazing.
she said, "Mom, I think I want to go here." And I was like, "They don't offer an interior design at the Naval Academy." And so,
Wow.
I sent her in, for a candidate visit weekend. And she came home and was like,
It's
"I
amazing.
loved it." And it just picked up from there.
That is really amazing. And when I think it wasn't really that long that we really had our first African American graduate from the Naval Academy. It's just amazing how far we have come. But wow, that is amazing.
Now, I just want to add on, I cannot forget, I have a son um,
Yes,
who also graduated from the Naval Academy in
that's right.
2025. He
Mm-hmm.
is now a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, in
Wow,
now
amazing.
in flight school down in Pensacola. That's a picture of my dad there as a Marine sergeant. He was
Yes.
also stationed in Japan in communications. So how about
Wow,
that? We didn't know that these things would be, our lines
that's
would be so
amazing.
similar. Hmm.
A family of public service, the legacy continues. Wow. I
Yes.
have two daughters. I was hoping one of them would join the Navy or the Air Force, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But that is all right. But
I
when,
I didn't want I just wanted them to be themselves. That's all I've said for them.
yeah,
I
true,
never said for
true.
them to be like me, do like me, be like somebody else. I'm like, you have to find you. And it
Yes.
was very important for them going through that journey at the Naval Academy to find themselves. And they
That
did
is
it.
so important. Yes, yes. I am originally from Africa, like most African parents. Like, no, you're gonna be either a doctor or a lawyer. And but yeah, but I'm like, no, my kids are gonna do whatever God is calling them to do.
That's
And
right.
yeah, that's how it should be. But when did you first realize you were not just managing people, but really developing leaders?
Uh, I guess it was early in my career, when I started seeing recurring feelings of angst. Um, I,
Mm,
uh, I am an information professional, and so I was in charge of the information systems technicians or former radiomen, and we
mm-hmm.
had a 24-hour watch.
Yeah.
And it was just that watch bill. Anybody on the watch bill, absolutely hates it. And we could be in 3 or 4 section watches and things like that. And so
Mhm.
I, started talking to them like, what can I do to make your job better?
Mm,
After, just hearing the murmurs and complaints. And the answer back to them was, "That's just the way it is. Choose your rate, choose your fate," type thing. So I figured I had to figure out a medium,
wow.
so understanding the present culture, but the present generation, and how
Mhm.
can we make these things fit. So,
Mm,
I empowered them, and that's understanding how your team works. And so I
yes.
had some trusted advisors, and they started having meetings, and they came back, with a proposed solution, and I asked to execute it, and it
Mm,
went well. It went well. And so when I realized that, the people are a system, but they're not a machine. They are
Yes.
human beings that actually make the whole system of systems work
Yes.
through team and listening to them and understanding where the problems are. And then me as a leader, trying to make their job, trying to make sure that they understand their job, trying to
Mm-hmm.
make sure they have the skills to perform their job, and trying to make sure that they know that they're important to the job.
Wow.
Um, Understanding those things are important for them to make their situation and our overall cultural situation better.
Yes. That is so powerful. Was there one defining moment, ma'am, that kind of shaped who you became as a leader?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Was there one defining leadership moment that shaped who you became as a leader throughout
Ooh.
your career?
Um, I can't think of necessarily the first one. I'm sure I've had them before,
Mm-hmm.
but I would probably say my time in Baghdad
Mm.
when we were receiving rocket fire every night,
Wow.
and we did not have a system in which to communicate. Um,
Mm.
our cell phones were dispersed. It was belonging to the Ministry of Transportation. They decided to give it to my office in the C6 department at the Coalition Provisional Authority.
Mm.
And we had a whole bunch of expats and other
Mm.
people like throughout the green zone that we didn't have coordination with.
Wow.
And so I stood up and I said, communication should be your most important piece here for us to be able to communicate and set everything up.
Yes.
There were people who were trying to call CNN to get their 15 minutes of fame and things like
Mm.
that. So I had to be able to manage the phone system to
Yes.
register who they were, where they were, and then also do a tiered system to where key people can contact us and let us know their location, how
Mm-hmm.
we could talk to them, because we had not had our full
Wow.
satellite, program up or anything where people could talk throughout Iraq.
Man,
In
that
fact, we
is
were working off of a middle school science project called Internet in a Box. That's the
wow.
way we communicated via Earthlink.net throughout the 18 governance. So that was the way that we
Wow.
communicated in early 2003. And we had to get a better system going to
Yes.
understand, when the railroads were being bombed, to when,
Mm-hmm.
to if there was any type of infiltration in the green zone or Camp Victory that was going on,
Wow.
and how could we best respond?
Man, that is just amazing. Just the sacrifices and the work that the U.S. military did during
Yes.
the war
Yeah.
on terror. But
Yes. So understanding that whole of system things, that was
yes.
definitely a leadership moment because it required different services. It
Mm-hmm.
required civilians. It required contractors. It required my National Guardsmen. It
Yeah.
required all of us to come together and not just make a
Wow.
unilateral decision. So,
Man.
we pulled it all in, and that's when I stood up and said, "We have to have this." And
Yes.
I had the support through the communication that I had, the literally, talking communication piece that I had, to be able to
Wow.
make that happen.
That is really amazing because you've led communication, cyber, satellite, and information system in high stakes environment like the one you just described. What did those roles teach you about trust and decision making,
You know,
especially? No.
I learned from someone in high school. I think it was my PE teacher, and he was like, "I'm going to give you this, but it's up to you to keep it." And then I'm not talking about trust here. And
Hmm.
then if you give me anything to take that away, it's gone. And so I
Yes.
let them know that they belong. Like you were sent to this group that I'm in charge of for a reason.
Hmm.
And you have the skills and capabilities on paper, and you're going to have to show me that you can perform that.
Wow.
I'm going to trust you with this, and unless you show me otherwise, you're going to execute.
Man.
And I think some people were surprised by that. I think when I talked to some of my sailors and letting them know where they fit in a picture, because they
Yes.
might have been seamen or IT3s,
Mm-hmm.
and letting them know where they fit in a picture. And this was especially important in my last operational tour in Seventh Fleet, when I showed them our responsibility.
Hmm.
And they thanked me. They were like, "I didn't know what I was here for. I didn't know what I was
Wow.
supposed to do. I didn't know why I was doing this job."
Yes.
And so letting everybody know where they fit into the whole of it, the entire piece or the system of systems to make these things
Yes.
happen, made them feel that they belong. And I'm a
Mm.
big believer in psychological safety,
Yes.
and while the high spot being able to contribute in a
Mm.
respectful manner, and having
That's
or
powerful.
empowering people to contribute, knowing that they belong, and knowing they have a leader that doesn't micromanage them but actually lets
Yes.
them put forth the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then also having after conversations. How did that work? What did we do good? What did we do bad?
Wow.
What did we learn from this? Those are
Yes.
important pieces to make sure that we continue to go forward.
Man, especially as a tech executive, I think it makes a big difference, right? When you are people centered and not just focusing on the technical function of the job. That is so
Yes.
critical. And
But
what leadership? Mhm.
if I can add to that,
Please.
when we went into the yards, when the Blue Ridge went into the yards, my challenge to them was to improve themselves.
Mm.
And I told them that I will not let them sit idle. We're not on a ship running,
Yes.
comms. So I said, you are going to improve yourself some way, shape, or form, either
Wow.
personally or in your rate, in your professionally. And I
Yes.
want to hear what you're doing. And I challenged
Wow.
every one of them to go forward and go, like, tell me what you're doing. I had one person that was in the bodybuilding. I had another person pursue their associate's degree. I had
Wow.
another one get, their certifications. Um,
Yes.
and they were just doing things that made them
Mm.
constructive to better themselves, and how that makes them
That's
show up in the
amazing.
workspace.
Wow. That is really amazing. I mean, talking about gaining trust, when your people knows that you truly care about their own development, man, they're going to trust you like nobody else. That's really
Yes.
powerful. But how do you think today's executive, well, I guess I should ask, what leadership lesson from operating in Iraq, Japan, Bahrain, and the Western Pacific apply to business leaders today who might be listening? They may not have any military experience, but everything you've learned, how could that apply to the industry as well?
So we see businesses, executives coordinating at a global level.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think that we are using it to our best advantage. It seems to be uh, more on the heavier side of transactional, and it also seems to be more outsourced.
Mm.
How can Americans actually become part of this global footprint? So
Yes.
when I communicate with in the military, I'm communicating, say, in Japan with my 35 allies and partners, and we're talking about how can I help you respond to humanitarian assistance or disaster recovery, or how can I help
Hmm.
you protect yourself from our adversaries in that region in the Western Pacific. I'm talking to them because we have a partnership, we have an agreement, we have a something to where we can support one another. On the corporate side, I feel as though we could do a little bit more in that communication, to
Mm.
where we can both bring something to the table and not necessarily outsource all of our needs, where we can help each other
Yes.
there. So it kind of depends on the company that we're talking about. But I think for the most part, having just an opening conversation, okay, where are your pain points?
Hmm.
Um, how can we optimize this to be global? And I understand that this is all about, competition, but in the
Yes.
military, we're competition too. We're trying to be
Hmm.
the strongest defender, if you will.
Yes.
So what can we do to make things a little bit better and congruent with all the partners involved?
I really love what you've said, man, because it seems to me like in the military, yes, there is some competition as well, even within sailor or peers. But more than that, I feel like there is a lot of collaboration, right? Like, for example, for one thing, as you know, in the Navy, when you get a new billet, it's like 2 to 5 years. So you know for sure, once you get a job, in a couple of years, you won't be there anymore. So there is really a huge focus on making sure you train your relief and all of that. And I don't really see that much in the the industry, especially in Silicon Valley. Looks like people, they tend to really fight each other to the top, and they don't like to share
Mhm.
information as much. And I think that's a really big difference, and that could really hugely impact the mission of your organization, right? When people within it actually collaborate more than they compete against one
Absolutely.
another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hmm. And another question I'd like to ask, ma'am, is how do leaders build resilient teams when
Mm.
the mission is complex, fast moving, and unforgiving, like it is in the Navy?
So building resiliency, it relies on practice, repetition. We
Mm,
train in the military to practice for um, either unforeseen events or brewing events that we know how to respond. And so there's several sayings in the military: we train as we fight, or
mhm.
so it is important for us to understand what the roles are. It is also important when you do this training that you present realistic vignettes to what's going
Yes.
on. And that was one of the things that I really pushed for in the communications realm, because communications is a critical infrastructure. And
Mhm.
you lose communications, what is your primary, what is your alternate, what is your
Yes.
contingency, and what is your emergency, your pace plan for
Mm.
what goes forward. So you just can't go in with a plan A. You have to have backup plans to be able to do these things.
Wow, I like.
So yeah, go ahead, please.
No, no, I love that. The PES plan, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency.
Emergency, yes.
Yes. Yes, we do train a lot in the Navy. That's another thing I see in the industry they probably could learn from us. Um, but wow. Now, let's talk about your time at the Naval Academy. You advise on culture, inclusion, equal opportunity, and leadership development. What did that experience teach you about institutional change?
So I reported to the Naval Academy in 2017, which was 25 years after
Wow,
um, graduating from the academy.
that's amazing.
So my my quest was, trying to understand what has changed, what
Hmm.
has not changed since my graduation. Were things any better? Were things worse? So from the better side, we saw the number of women grow from 10% of the brigade of midshipmen to um, almost 30%. It
Wow,
actually did hit 30% while I was there, which was great.
amazing.
But we also still saw some uh, problems across cultures, across
Hmm.
races, and we there were just issues that really, with some education, could have been mitigated.
Mm,
But there are some things that happen, is like that's the way it always has always been. Um,
yes,
that's Oh, you don't understand what that means. And I'm like, I do understand, and I want you to understand how it's relaying to not just me, but to groups of people.
yes,
So my job was to speak for the underrepresented. And when I say underrepresented, I'm not just saying underrepresented from a physical standpoint. I'm saying
yes,
underrepresented even in thought, diversity
yes.
of thought. Uh, there were things that the Navy or the military likes to hold on from a traditional standpoint, that
Hmm.
some of the younger generation doesn't understand. Why do we have to hold on to that tradition and standpoint?
Yes,
But that
yes,
does, and when I heard a leader come back and speak, and they asked the leader, what how could they best understand or become multicultural, like understanding the multicultural. And let me just dig a
mm,
little bit deeper on that. It was a female, and she had to work with different countries on her job. And
wow.
so her response was, why don't you take a chance and go down to DC and
Mm,
experience the different cultures? And in my head, how about just going down the hall in a dormitory and talking to
yes,
somebody?
yes,
And so, being on the senior leadership team, one of the top 12 on the yard in the institution, I wanted to know, what some of the problems were. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they became problems or if things were brewing, I brought it to the superintendent or the president of the school's attention. I
Yes.
also had a responsibility as the EEO overseer from the civilian side to understand what type of barriers are in place that
Mm.
keep people who, um, by gender, by race, by disability, from being
Yes.
able to be hired, retain, and actually promote in the system.
Mm.
And so these things, when it was, a barrier analysis is what we called it. So these types of things not just applied in the civilian realm, but they applied across
Yes.
military who were coming back to serve there. And they
Mm-hmm.
also applied for, most importantly, our midshipmen, our students who we were training to become officers. And there
Yes.
were some things that really, really came up, such as how you evaluate females.
Mm.
Females were considered, gossips or um, sassy or abrasive, things like
Yes.
that. And men were considered, outspoken, or
Mm.
very,
All of the stereotypes. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So we had to, really take a hard look at those and seeing how
Mm.
that was there. And how does that come about? Is that
Yes.
taught? Is that othering taught, at the academy and the institution? Or did they
Mm.
bring their own views with them when they came to the academy? So it
Yes.
was definitely um, an eye opener to see this. A lot of things were, there were some things that were still the same. It was, and disappointing in some standpoint. Like, okay, how do we change it? And
Yes.
and for some people, it's a hard thing, and it's a long process to change. And considering that we are in a microwave generation, we want things to
Mhm.
change overnight. But the crux of it all was in 2020. The
Mm.
pandemic
Yes.
was huge because I brought to people's, of course, I'm in cohorts of diversity officers in higher education. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, just sending midshipmen home and expecting them to be available to go get on their computers to chat or do different things
Yeah.
while fighting a pandemic is going to be problemsome. And it was actually kind of um, brushed a little bit hard and said, well, they can just come back to the schoolhouse. Well, they
Mm.
would be sitting in the schoolhouse, probably alone,
Yeah.
no real support because we're in isolation. Everybody's self isolating. And then the other part was they may not have homes to go home to. I had an individual whose mother was a truck driver. So when
Mm.
she was on the road, she shut off her utilities at home. So
Wow.
the midshipmen would um, they would they would drive at night and then
Mm.
get and so that in the day she could stop and go into a hotel room and connect to the internet where she could do her classes distance learning.
Mm.
And some people just did, some of our leadership or some of our um, uh, professors did not understand individuals in the,
Yes.
their, what their things were, what their problems were. So it opened up conversation. And then unfortunately in May, the George Floyd murder happened. And so not only were we already in isolation because of COVID, and people were losing family members. But now
Mm.
we have the George Floyd murder, where it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is enough. Like, why do we have to keep
Yes.
enduring this? And it caused not only a lot of people to speak up and speak out, but it also created a great allyship to where
Mhm.
people were just seeing, like, reflecting on what they see in their own daily lives as far as uh,
Yes.
dismissiveness, as far as um, lack of communication, lack of understanding, and they
Mhm.
wanted to help. And it was just an eye opening piece
Wow.
that was going on there. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And why does representation matters so much?
Yeah. So, I'll be honest with you, I didn't use representation a lot because people called me the chief diversity officer, although I had a larger role than that.
Mhm.
Representation is huge for me personally and professionally because let's say, for example, the news clip that you showed at the beginning. That
Yes.
was 3 years ago, and they're still reporting on that.
Yes.
It matters to people
Mm.
who don't see those things happen. And it creates possibility for
Mm.
that to be able to be experienced. Okay. And I want to
Yes.
say that this is a difference from tokenism, where you may have one and being the only, and it's more insular, if you will, kind of being that one person there. The representation represents more of action, more of belonging, more of diversity of thought at that space. And then again, like I said, more opportunity.
Mm.
So,
That's something.
that's very important to me. And I didn't really realize that, because what my family has created is a space within an institution that hadn't had it before.
Mm.
And then there is another piece to that, and I don't think that you have any pictures here, is that my children are actually the great niece and great nephew of the Navy B1 band. They are
Wow.
they're called the Forgotten First. So the Navy B1
Wow.
band is a group of band members from the Greensboro, North Carolina area, who
Hmm.
were recruited because of Eleanor Roosevelt in 1941 timeframe to play
Hmm.
music for the troops. So they signed up thinking that they were just going to be playing locally. Little did they know that they would be shipped to Hawaii, to the Pacific, to go entertain troops during World War
Mm.
II.
Wow.
So they were the
That's
first
amazing.
blacks to be in the Navy outside of the messman rating, because that's
Yes.
all that blacks could actually serve in, was
Hmm.
in servant roles. So they
Yes.
were musicians, very talented, skilled. Um, they were
Wow.
Some of them were professors in the college at North Carolina A&T or at Bennett College,
Man.
or young people. So they joined. So when you see Uncle John and Uncle Walter Carlson in this
Mm.
role, and here they are 3 generations later, or 2 generations later,
Wow.
at least my children's father was a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps. He
Yes.
retired from the reserve. And seeing that happen, to go from not being able
That's
to come
amazing.
in into the military in any possible rating, to their grandniece and nephew becoming military officers.
Wow.
It's a breakthrough. It creates a legacy that
That's
other
amazing.
families are able to enjoy, that we haven't
Man.
necessarily had. So that's not tokenism. Do you see the
Yes.
difference now between a
Yes.
tokenism and a representation? This
Yes.
representation, this celebration that our
Ah,
society is taking today, 3 years after the fact, are they're still celebrating legacy, and they're celebrating
that's
representation.
amazing.
Somebody representative of me has taken this
Mm.
step.
That is so powerful. Of course, you are now an historic figure. I didn't know about your uncle in the Navy B1 band. That's just amazing. I'm going to do more research
Yes,
on that. We have such a great, rich history, in the military and really in our country that just most people just have no idea.
they
It's wow.
don't. And these are the stories that we need to maintain, that we need to keep
Yes,
going. There is a period
absolutely.
of erasure that's going on, or attempts
Hmm.
of erasure going on, but this is all
Yes,
America's story.
yes,
It's
yes,
very important to understand your past to be able to move well into the future.
so
So
true.
to erase or to diminish or to
Mm.
restory something that has happened is not a fair assessment of
Yes.
how people are supposed to be moving forward.
Hmm. Wow, that is so powerful. And of course, as you know, no black Navy officer until January 1st, 1944, right? The Golden 13, the very first
Yes,
black naval officer. What do they mean to you? I think I have their book up there on my shelf. But yeah,
yes.
uh,
So they mean a lot to me. I was a young lieutenant junior grade, and I got to meet some of the
wow,
Golden 13 members.
amazing.
And I'm part of the National Naval Officers Association. So I met them at one of their conferences. And
Mm,
what they represent is there's actually 16 of them. And again, through um, the orders of President Truman of EO9, Executive Orders 9980 and
hmm
9981, to allow the integration of Blacks into the
yes.
military services. And
Mhm.
if you haven't seen the documentary, I want you to see the blinding of Isaac Waters.
Mm,
That
yeah.
is like what has made where the NAACP and Isaac Waters and President Truman to say enough is enough. These people
Yes.
are in our uniform, serving to fight in our
Mm,
country for just to be seen when they come back home. But many, especially from the South, were murdered after
yes.
fighting in a war. So
Yes.
these things, so the going to the Golden 13,
Mm,
these 16 officers, these 16 men went into the military, into the Navy, and surpassed all
yes.
officer aptitude tests. I think they still
Mhm.
either have the highest or one of the highest
Yes.
rankings of scores in their aptitude and proficiency.
I believe it was
And
3.8 out of 4. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
yes, and for some reason, it's not written anywhere. They would only
Uh,
allow 13 of
Actually,
them.
we know it was because of white supremacy and
Yeah,
racism.
thank you for saying that. But
Yeah.
we know that
Because
it's,
it would have been the first time in naval history where they would have 100% pass.
yeah,
And
it was
I just
100%. Yeah,
couldn't
that's
agree
unheard
that
of.
blacks would pass
Yes.
100% when white couldn't barely
Yeah.
make 80.
So
So
I'm
that's why.
glad that you said that, because it
Yeah.
is true. I'm trying to be nice and politically correct here,
Yes, ma'am.
but yeah, I get it. It was white supremacy, and they decided only 13 of them because they were considering attrition, and they did not think that all 16 would graduate, and they sent 3 of them back to the fleet.
Wow.
So the other 13 were commissioned either as ensigns or LDOs or one warrant officer into the Navy. And they
Yes.
all did very well. And in fact,
Yes.
there is a House resolution that has passed, thanks to Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton of Washington,
Mm.
D.C., to actually put in a Congressional Gold Medal for their achievements there.
Wow.
We would love to see it be pushed forward.
Yes.
We're just not sure at this time and place that it's happening.
Mm.
I do want our military legacy to
Yes.
continue, but they're barrier breaking, because understand that was only 13
Mm.
officers who were sent off into the world in the
Wow.
United States Navy to go serve in this place. Now,
Amazing.
they were also in love with Wesley Brown, who
Mm.
joined the Navy in 1946 at the Naval Academy,
Yeah.
breaking barriers,
The first one.
and how he was the first one. Well, he was the first graduate. He
Hmm.
is actually the sixth um, Black midshipman since
Wow.
1849, I believe was the year, to
Amazing.
actually come here. James Conyers was the
Was the first.
first from South Carolina, and we just put a headstone on his grave in
Wow. What a
2020,
history.
I believe. So understanding like the legacy, and then understanding and I've had a chance to meet Wesley Brown. His daughter, Billy West, is a very good friend of mine.
Mm.
Hearing her story of what her father went through and the nuances of
So
people
powerful.
saying that they would never allow for a Black man to get through their
Wow.
institution. They would not be the first. It is amazing. And
Yes.
that's what the Golden 13 went through. That's what
Yeah.
James Capers, who just got the Medal of Honor recipient 2 weeks ago or
Mm.
10 days ago,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
finally got the Medal of Honor.
Finally.
So, just having these people recognized,
Mm.
unfortunately not in due time, but, for the things that they did, and the
Yes.
burden that they carried, the absolute
Wow.
burden that they carried to be the only, it's hard. And it's still
Yes.
hard when there's a small number of the underrepresented or the
Mhm.
marginalized in a space, because
Wow.
you carry a lot of
So
unhidden
true.
attributes on your shoulders.
So true. But without the Golden 13, there is no Captain Timi Lindsay and there is no Commander Bob Busy
That's
Zinga.
right.
We really stand on the shoulders of giants. We have so much to talk about. We're already running out of time, ma'am.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
I must ask you, what can we do to add value back to you?
So I started a consultant business, Anchor Leadership Solutions.
Mm.
I did this because there are many people who want to know how they can look at their culture of their organization and see
Yes.
how they can improve. And this um, work experience and leadership experience that I bring from 30 plus years of military
Mm.
into the space, combined with my academic skills now, not just in IT,
Yes.
but in my business psychology degree, I'm able
Hmm.
to look at things, do actual organizational diagnoses and things like that. I am also available for board positions or speaking positions where I can go.
Can you
The
tell
other
us about
thing,
Pegasus?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Can you tell us about Pegasus Rising?
Yes, yes, that's the other thing. So this has become a passion. And I take this from my mother, who always said, if you don't like the way things are, fix it. So coming back to my home of Paulsboro, again, similar story for me returning to the Naval Academy. Coming back to Paulsboro, I saw a lot of things that had not changed. In fact,
Mm,
have gotten worse. So I came back and several family members got together, and we want to create economic development and better opportunities for those in the Paulsboro and southern New Jersey area. Our actual incorporated name is Uniting for Progress because we do want to expand, but we're going to start here at home first. We
mm.
had a huge event at Friendsgiving where we fed 1,600 people.
Wow.
That's me giving props to all the people who donated that day and getting people to come down and see us and things.
Wow.
But it was, and we did it in the rain. We had a flash flood in that day, but people were able to come
Amazing.
through. We had great sponsors. It was just
Wow.
overall just pleasing. And this, we want to focus on a few things: economic development,
Hmm.
financial literacy, STEM education for our youth, and career development. We want to
Wow.
create these different things. And I'm in a coalition now to where we can look at creating safe communities.
Hmm.
Anything we can do. Environmental justice is huge too, because we come from a huge oil refineries. We're actually in a center right
Wow.
across from Philadelphia. Environmental justice is very important to us too. So
Amazing.
being able to give that literacy
Yeah,
and knowing what people need to do, how they can make themselves healthier, how they can make
that's
themselves
amazing.
financially well, etc., is important to us.
Where do you find the time, Captain? Wow. Incredible.
I am learning. I'm relearning time management.
Yes. Wow.
um, but
That is amazing.
yeah, it's going well. We're balancing it pretty well, and I'm really happy that I'm physically able to do this
Yes.
work, and I'm
Wow.
not doing it alone either. So I'm very
Yes.
thankful for partnering with other people and doing these things so we can share ideas and we
Mm.
can share responsibilities and executing.
And the website is pegasus-rising.org, or you also
Yes,
have the link to the Facebook. They accept donation, and I'm sure volunteers as well. So thank you
thank
so
you.
much for everything you do, Captain. What a great pleasure and honor and privilege to be talking to you today. As we end the show, can you mention one book that my audience should read?
Okay, so my favorite book is The Prayer of Jabez.
Oh, I love that one.
My
Yes.
absolute favorite book.
Yes.
And I
Those that
think that
you would bless
it
me
is
indeed. Yes.
it
Enlarge
it
my
is
territory.
to
Yeah.
bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would
Yes.
be with me, that I that that
Yes.
your
I
hand,
love it.
that I may not cause pain. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry, I should have recited it from the
No, no.
beginning, but
I love it. I love it.
so
Powerful.
that's my Naval Academy memory. Like I have to
Yes.
start from the beginning. So but no,
Mm,
that's very important to me. The last book that I actually read was When Affirmative Action Was White.
mm,
Um, it was a powerful book, and it talked about the introduction of our military into of blacks into the military, and
mhm,
how it was done basically because white Southerners
mm.
did not want the blacks to be left at home with their wives and children. And
Wow.
so things came in, and then they realized that they had to educate blacks. And then they
Yes.
realized that they had to give them benefits and social security
Mm,
and things like that. These were things that were not allowed. They wanted the blacks to continue to work, but not have these benefits or not have any skills,
yes.
but they needed it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
these things were offered and expanded to us
Wow.
over time.
Powerful.
And it's just important to understand that context and that these things happen less than like 100 years ago. So that
Yes.
means that we
Yes.
have generations here that have experienced more of those
Mm,
things, like my father, that
yes.
more of those things than not.
Mm,
And everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it'll go away with time, and the cultures will go away." It's not going away. It
yes.
is hitting our youth right now who may be
Mm,
carrying this legacy. So the things that are going on right now in society, whether because of political pressure or cultural upbringing that make them feel that people
yes.
who don't look like them or bad or others or whatever. It needs, in order for us to have a greater union, to reach the unity that Secretary Hicks says, to be able to be the nation that our forefathers always envisioned as we, as celebrate our 250th.
Our aspirational creed. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we're going from June 19th to July 4th. Actually, there was a reason why we need to have a second National Independence Day. I think people need
Yes.
to think about that. So we're going to become that more perfect union. I'm very, very proud to be an American, and it's being a patriot to tell your country, hey, you're not what you're supposed to be. This is where we come from. This is what we should be. And that's the
Absolutely.
America I am definitely willing to die for. Not a white supremacist America, not an America that excludes Black people or women or others, but really being one country under God.
Absolutely.
That's who we are, and that's what our values are. And that's what I want to celebrate on this July 4th, but I also want our people to really reflect, because on July 4th, 1776, a great percentage of our people were slaves, and that is not acceptable. Yes, we are glad America was free from Britain, and we fight for freedom. Pat Henry says, right, give me liberty or give me death. And that's what he said. And at the same time, three-fourths, I believe, of the founding fathers own people as slaves. Just not acceptable, and we do need to be better and to do better, and that's what we accept for America to do, right? Not to exclude anybody, and African American and women should absolutely be included in the American dream. Amen. All right, I'm not going to preach, but thank you so much, Captain Timi Lindsay.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. And again, the two books, I'm going to add them. We do have a digital bookshelf here. So it's Bruce Wilkinson, The Prayer of Jabez, and also Ira Katznelso, When Affirmative Action Was Right.
Yes.
I will add those. Last question I have for you. What would you say to the 17-year-old version of yourself, standing at the edge of this incredible
you saw that picture. Okay, so
yes,
that 17-year-old girl was just aspiring to make it big, and didn't know where her impact was. But her love for sports, her love for teams, has been able to carry her far in understanding how everybody fits into the equation to make it better. So don't change. Don't change who you are. The journey is going to be rough, but you're going to make it.
Absolutely wonderful. And now
and there's a lot of good times in that roughness too. Don't just focus on the bad. There's good that comes out of it.
So wise. Retired as a captain, that's only one promotion away from being an admiral, a flag officer in the most powerful Navy in the world. Thank you for your service and your continued service. And not just you, but your family. Thank you so much, Captain Lindsay. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. All right, everybody, please follow Captain Lindsay on LinkedIn and a nonprofit and also a consulting firm. And as we come to an end, actually, I'm going to have back-to-back podcast today. I am speaking next to the one and only, Major General JAG officer, Steve Leper is going to be next on the Leadership and Success podcast. And right after him today, I am going to be talking to Scott Zuckerman. He's a financial expert. We're going to be talking from financial disaster to financial freedom. And then tomorrow, I will be speaking to Coach Richard Vickers, best-selling author, brand newly released book, Getting Smarter Every Day. And after him, I'm excited. I'm going to be speaking to a TED speaker, Dr. Elizabeth M. Adams, and she's written more than 6 books now. It's just incredible lady. You don't want to miss this. That's going to be tomorrow. And then I'm also going to speak to a Command Sergeant Major, Jason Smith, about the backbone of leadership. That's going to be tomorrow. All right. Hopefully, I see you in just a few minutes. We're going to be speaking live with Major General Steve Leper, former JAG, U.S. Air Force. See you in just a moment. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.